pop up in the corner. Let's see. An error occurred. Hang on, but it shows that I'm going live. Oh, on LinkedIn. All right, that's cool. But you know what? We're still live on Facebook. We're still live on YouTube. But what is up, everybody? Listen, today is such an honor to be sitting here with my mate Brayden Elliott, man, DAO Kawasaki BSB team. We actually met at Cadwell. I always want to call it Codwell, us Americans, right? But it's Cadwell. And I approached him. I was like, Brayden, dude, what an honor. I'm a fan, you know, and then we had a little chat and I invited him on the podcast and boom, here we are. So what an honor, Brayden. What is up?
No, thanks for having me, mate. It's cool. No, it was great to meet you at Cadwell. And yeah, I know we've been trying to get this happening for a little while now. So it's, pleasure to sit down and have a chat with you for sure.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Listen, again, the honor is all mine. So yeah, it's listen, I can't wait. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this one. You know, I've been trying to get more Americans into British Superbike and I tell everybody this, Brayden, I've told you this, you know, personal chats we've had, that it's my favorite series simply because that they, man, y'all Superbikes don't have all the PlayStation, Xbox electronics on it. So it's more of an old school proper way of road racing, right? So to me, that's why it's my favorite, and it's everything. So I'm trying to, you know, get more Americans involved because you're missing out on such a beautiful sport as far as BSB goes, right? But anyway, enough of that. Why don't you tell your story? How did Brayden actually get into motorcycles to begin with?
Geez, depending on how far back you want to go. Look, bikes have been a part of my life, my whole life, honestly. Grew up in a very small country town in Australia, which is kind of typical way of getting to dirt track, is being on the farm, having bikes, all that type of thing. My pop had land. My dad is into bikes. He was never like racing or anything, but just into bikes in general. So yeah, I think when I was kind of 2-3-year-old, he fitted me up some training wheels on a Pee Wee 50 out at my pop's farm. Just learned all the basics and just having fun riding bikes. And then, from there, I had my first ever race at 4 years old doing dirt track in Oz. So as I say, it's been in my life like forever. And then pretty much just went through the ranks. So dirt track, probably up until I was about like 17, 18, I'm going to say. And that was kind of every weekend. Like we're traveling all over Australia for the early years, dragging my sister along as well. But otherwise, just me, mum, and dad, in the ute trailer in the back, and off we went. So that was like state level stuff, Australian championships, all of that, all the way through. And I was also doing speedway at the time, so I got into that in Oz when I was probably like 9 years old. I started racing speedway. The plan was, to be honest, was to try and become a speedway racer. That was the plan, to come over to England at some point and try and make it as a speedway rider. But I changed direction a little bit later in my life, and I didn't start road racing until quite late. But that was kind of how I got started anyway on this whole journey.
That's awesome. So what was the transition like from speedway to road racing? Was it difficult or pretty seamless?
It wasn't too bad. Like, I think dirt track is a good way to get started. Like, the bike skills, everything else is like, it teaches us so much. And obviously I had kind of a good, like 15 or more years of doing that before I jumped on the road bike. So all the sort of bike skills were there. Obviously racing skills, I was used to racing against people and competition and stuff. So then it was just like a transition between sort of learning new skills and adapting. One of the things that I was really fortunate with at the time, we'd built up a bit of a relationship with Suzuki Australia and called Phil Tayton, who was running the Suzuki Australia Superbike team for many years. And he'd just come off the back of winning the Superbike Championship a bunch of times, his team. And we already knew him from the dirt track side of things. So I had a good connection straight away before I even started road racing. My first ever bike was one of his practice bikes, got a 600 from him, and was just having a bit of a muck about on it. And one of his riders, Sean Giles, 3-time Australian Superbike champion, he'd recently retired. So the connections were kind of there even before I started. So the one thing I was really lucky with was like my first kind of serious sort of track days, club meetings, that sort of thing. I had really good people around me. So Phil came to the track to give us a hand. Gilesy was there to give me a hand coaching. And it was kind of like I went from nothing and knowing nothing about road racing to having probably the best crew chief in Australian road racing history with me. And 3-time superbike champion there as my coach. And like I sat on a road bike for the very first time in 2013, or the tail end of 2013. I had my first year racing 2014, and then 2015 was when I won the Australian Championship. So it happened so quick. But it was honestly because I was around good people, just really sped the process up. If I had to do it on my own and had no idea, like, it would have taken me ages to try and learn the skills involved.
Well, first off, to win a championship that quick, that just speaks volumes of your talent right there, right? And it's also very important to have a good team, good team structure around you, right? Where you walk in the garage, everybody's friendly all the time. You know, tensions get high in situations. It's just part of the sport. But man, your journey, bro, was, dude, that's proper, man. Yeah, through a leg, then bam, there it is, right? So, what made you want to transition from Australia to England?
At the time, like, the main thing was I wasn't overly content just like setting my future in Australia and just sort of going, okay, I'm going to try and like reach the best of Australian superbikes and stay there and do it again and do it again and do it again. And like, even though that's an amazing thing to achieve, and it's definitely got its perks, the lifestyle, being at home, sunshine, family, all the rest, it would be a nice thing to do. But I also had won the Supersport Championship reasonably quick. I had 1 year on the Superbike, which also went quite well considering. And I just thought I was already like nearly 21 at that stage. And I thought I need to, I want to make more of this. I want a future out of this elsewhere. I want to challenge myself against the best people in the world on the hardest tracks, and I want to see how far I can go here. And I kind of had the mindset that if everything failed and it was just the biggest disaster in the world, I could still come back and race in Australia. Like, even if it didn't all pan out, it doesn't matter if it's in 5 years' time or if it was the year after. I could still come back. The Australian Championship was still going to be there. My family's going to be there. Like, it was all going to be okay, so I might as well give it a crack. And to be honest, initially I wanted to come to America because I had some racing there in 2016 and loved it. Probably like the lifestyle than what I did the racing. Like, it was just a cool place to be. I really enjoyed it. And then I didn't know a lot about the British Championship, but I knew it was regarded as like the toughest domestic series in the world. And to be honest, my journey to get initially, what I really wanted to do at the time, they were still running the European Superstock 1000 Championship or the World Superstock 1000 Championship. And my plan was, I thought, righty, I'll go over and do a year or two in BSB Stock 1000, get a taste of what it's like to live away from home, and what it's like to be in another country competing. And then once I kind of understand that, move on and hopefully try and do the European Championship. And when I moved over, they announced that the European Championship was going to be scrapped at the end of that year. That was no longer going forward. And I also never anticipated for BSB to be as big as what it is and as hard as what it is. And then, my sights kind of got a little bit changed because I thought, I can see why people come here and stay here for their whole career, because it's a special championship.
So absolutely it is. BSB is magical. So everybody knows Caldwell Park is my favorite racetrack on the planet, like hands down,
Yes.
bars none. What was the feeling like for you the first time you seen it and then actually rode it?
I've done watched a lot of laps, watched a lot of races and everything, but nothing does it justice until you're there and you see how narrow it is and everything else. And I don't know, to be honest, like when we race around some of the tracks in Oz, like maybe Morgan Park's a good example of there's a close wall and everyone like complains about it and people have got hurt there and it needs moving and all this sort of stuff. And I was definitely the sort of rider before I came here to complain about that sort of thing. And then when I seen Cadwell, I was like, I would never complain about a track in Australia ever again because this is absolutely crazy. I enjoyed it. I went there for a track day before I raced it, and I quite enjoyed that. But to be honest, when I got there for the first time I ever raced it, and like it was fun at the track day, it was like you were just doing your thing. And then when you're sitting on the grid with 40 other bikes, and like you've seen it, you know how narrow it is and how no room for error. I can't say I enjoyed it as much, but I had a massive crash there the first time I raced there, and yeah, it definitely left its scars physically and probably mentally. So I wouldn't say it's my favorite track, but it's something I've tried to overcome in previous years.
Yeah, I mean, it's as you said, man, it's everybody that's never been and that watches it on TV. I'm telling you, it's literally like this wide. I went on a Wednesday. I met up with two mates at Peter Hickman's place. He had a bike night, and we became friends. And so they took me. Yeah, was it Thursday? No, it was Thursday. Either Wednesday or Thursday. They took me, and first thing I went, I was like, I'm gonna go straight to the mountain jump, right? And I walked straight over there, and it was a track day going on too as well. And yeah, mind blown, right? It was like, are you kidding me? And of course, I went. So from there, from the mountain, when I'm standing there where the bleachers are, I went all the way to the left. So that's what turn one of the last turns, but before the straightaway.
Yeah, go through whole bends and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, and it just blew my mind how narrow it was, and it's kind of like a little like road race, like a Alaman TTS kind of section through there, right? Because it's so narrow. You literally got tire barriers. I mean, feet away from you, right? I mean, it's super close. And so I'm out there and I'm watching Friday. I see all the classes go out, right? And I'm like, holy shit, my mind was blown already, right? And then here comes you legends that you are on these super bikes, and my mind was even more blown. And of course, I stand at the jump, right? And I was just, it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. On absolute the most beautiful thing. And then I walked down where the section was you just said, and it was. It's hard for me to even talk about it, man, and put into words how amazing it is and how fast. Like the super stock guys go out, right? And I'm like, man, they're balling. Then you guys go out and you guys go to a whole nother level than the super stock guys. I mean, it's insane how fast you guys are. I was blown away.
It's crazy considering how tight that section of track is, and as I say, like no runoff. It's crazy how fast it actually is considering. Yeah, it's a wild bit of track.
It's man, it's the best track in the world. It really is. You know, and the history of it too, right? They still got the original house and you know the dad and the two sons and the farm, you know, and all that good stuff, man. It was just it's one of those magical places that you got to physically be there to feel the energy, right? And then that makes you even understand it even more. Yeah. So every time I see it, I'm just like, oh God, I miss it. I miss Cadwell so much. I love the UK. I loved it over there, and I can't wait to come back. But listen, enough of that. So you landed in England, right? So who was your first team you rode with getting into BSB, and how did that season go?
So I moved over to ride for a team called CF Motorsport. So basically, when I first come over, my partner Eliza and I moved over together. It was like a mad start because neither of us had never lived together before. We'd only been together for kind of not even a year, and she was living at like Melbourne, kind of Phillip Island, and I'm living like 9 hours away from her. So there was some mad stuff going on because we obviously arrived together, not knowing how we were going to find that. Nothing but a 30-kilo suitcase each to our name. Yeah, and it was my first time ever living away from my parents or out of my home or anything. Rocked up. We lived in a share house initially, so it was us and another couple. And we moved to Derby. We looked at a map before we come over, and yeah, it was for the tracks. It was quite close to the team that I was riding for. And I was like, right, we're moving to Derby. Obviously never been before, and kind of just booked everything online and just had a crack. Got a hire car at the airport from London, drove in, and we're here. CF Motorsport, that was their first year, I believe, in stock 1000, and it was the first year they'd run the R1. I'd also never ridden the R1 before. So it was a bit of a change. They'd had some really big success in Supersport. I think they might have even finished on the podium in a World Supersport race as a wild card. So they were, a great team. And a team that I'm still friends with today. They're really nice people. And unfortunately, it wasn't the year. More so from my point, it was difficult. I'd come over not really understanding much about the championship or the level, and I would say I was definitely extra confident to think I was just going to come here and conquer it in my first year. I'd come off the back of winning a lot of races in Supersport. My first year on a superbike back home had gone quite well, so I kind of thought I'll come here, clean up in my first year, and get on with the job, and off we go. And to be honest, it started off nearly too well. So I turned up to Donington Park for my first ever race. First race on the R1, first time ever at Donington Park. And as we've seen in Stock 1000, we only get 2 25-minute practice sessions. So it's not a lot of time to get yourself up to pace when everyone's on kind of lap record from the second, third lap. And I qualified third for my first ever race. And it was crazy. But at the time, that's where I expected to be. So it was that's what I was thinking anyway. Race was quite good. I think I finished 8th in my first race, made some mistakes, but it was a solid race to get the year underway. And then from that point, to be honest, it was just a downhill roller coaster. When we started to go on tracks like Alton Park, Cadwell, Knock Hill, all these places that I'd never seen, I was going there with a bucket load of confidence. And basically, like I say, in 2 25-minute practice sessions, trying to learn and understand a track like Alton Park when you don't know it, and trying to be up to pace that quickly and have a lot of expectation. Basically, I was just making mistakes. I didn't respect the tracks enough. I didn't understand the tracks enough. And I just started crashing. And before I moved to England, I could probably count on one hand the amount of times I'd had a crash on a road bike. And some weekends I was having 2 crashes a weekend and destroying bikes, destroying my confidence. And by the end of 2017, I'd gone from qualifying for my first race in third. And I think I qualified 36th for the last race that year. So to be honest, it was just a downward spiral. I think I had 3 concussions that year, hurt myself a lot, struggled immensely with sharing a house with other people, living away from home, and just the whole combination of everything that year it nearly broke me my first year, to be honest. It was hard, really hard.
Yeah, that's a lot of stress to take on, with everything you just said, cumulatively all at one time, right? New series, new tracks, new people, new place, don't really know nobody, right? So, Brayden, what's the most difficult part for you to show up and learn a new track?
I think because tracks are so quirky over here, like the blind crest, say if I'm comparing somewhere like Old Park, the blind crest is one thing, but how fast they are is another thing. Like you got 5th gear sort of blind crest there, where when you start to know every bump and every crack, and you know where you're tipping in, and maybe something that you're aiming for in the distance, them sort of things, there's a lot of time to be gained and lost in areas like that. The way that the guys here use every millimeter of the track area is pretty sketchy. And when you don't really know the tracks, or you might know them to an extent, but learning where you can pinch sort of a little bit here and a little bit there and run the white line, or all these little things, takes time. So it's one thing kind of learning it, but to go fast and to go as quick as what everyone is, that's quite difficult to find that extra step. And to be honest, for me, that's just taking time. I've still got a big chunk to go, but it's just taking time on the tracks here to really understand that.
Yeah, I guarantee you, man, especially BSB tracks, man. They're just they're different and they're mental. That's what makes them so unique and special, right? So, did you watch any onboard videos or play any PlayStation or Xbox games to try to get to know the tracks beforehand?
Yeah, so I'm not much into PlayStation and Xbox now, but I definitely watch I don't know how many hours of onboard video. So before I actually moved over, I already had a little folder with every track map that I was going to go to, and I'd spent just days and days and days just watching videos, writing notes, just any remote kind of reference point could find a video, and gear change patterns and all that sort of stuff I already had in my head before we arrived there. But it's always different when you get there. I've just ridden at Jerez a few weeks ago, and I basically done the same thing for that. And it's one thing kind of having a vision in your head and maybe like visualizing it and thinking about it and understanding it, but then when you're going through a turn like fourth gear or fifth gear on it and everything's coming at you quick, it's like, this doesn't feel how it did when I was watching on YouTube.
Yeah. This don't feel like the PlayStation game. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I spend a lot of time doing that, to be honest. It's something I really put a lot of effort into.
Yeah, I bet, right? So how was Jerez, man? How was riding that track?
Awesome. Yeah, it was really cool. I actually went there in 2017. When I jumped on that R1, we went there to ride it, but the weather was crap and it didn't really happen. So, yeah, this is my first like proper go there. And yeah, it was awesome. And I was in some good company as well. Like there was some fast boys there, and being on track with them was really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. You know, Jerez is such a legendary track too, you know, and such mega battles they've had over the years, with in all classes of racing, right? It's a good spectator track, I think. Not as far as, I don't know, I've never been there like physically being there, but watching on TV, it produces some really good racing for sure.
Iconic place, definitely.
Yeah, it does. So okay, so from your first time here in the super stock, how did you and DAO Kawasaki, how did this family come together?
So basically from the year after like 2017, after I had my first year with CF Motorsport, I was kind of on a bit of a weird journey, to be honest with you. So because that ride obviously finished at the end of that year, and I went on to do some other stuff which didn't really work out, just a whole another conversation. But throughout a chunk of 2018, I was kind of left on the sidelines. I really didn't want to go back to Australia because I felt like I had more to give here. I never ride here, didn't really have the funds and everything else. So I missed quite a few rounds. I was just trying to work out what I could do to get on a racetrack. And yeah, like life was not the best over here. Like we moved into a 1-bedroom flat. I was borrowing cars, and it was just a rubbish kind of period, to be honest with you. It just wasn't great. I was actually working 2 jobs at the time. My life's work, and it's just hard. And the only option I had to get back on a racetrack was to try and do my own thing. So I had good contacts with Suzuki Australia, and all of my contacts were still there. I hadn't really met that many people at this stage in England. So I got boxes and boxes of stuff sent over from Oz to build myself my own stock 1000. Saw the bike here. And yeah, I'm a bike mechanic by trade. So I basically went to a bike dealership. They'd let me use a bike bench of a night time or after hours. I did a bit of a deal with them, borrowed tools, all sorts of stuff, built my own stock 1000, and then pretty much went racing. Yeah, it was like me, Eliza, my mate Ted, and yeah, some people helped me along the way, definitely. And to be honest with you, like doing what I was doing, I would have struggled to be competitive at a club championship, let alone BSB. It was like I was trying everything I could do to be at the track, but looking back on it now, it wasn't going to work. Like the budget, the bike, the spares, everything we were doing, it was just very low level stuff, but it was all we could do. And then over the years that followed, running my own team, it just built each year. So like going from sort of the 3 of us to then getting some other boys in to help mechanic of a weekend, to me sort of get my own bit of a workshop with a sponsor and have my own base to work out of, and all them sort of things just started to flow into the picture. I managed to get a great sponsor for quite a few years, and it really helped me out massively and like pretty much turned my career around, to be honest. So we made the transition to go from Suzuki to Honda for the 2022 season. And that was a real big turning point for me. I felt like it was the first time ever in my career in England that it was like, right, I know I've got a bike that can win. I've got good people around me. I was building the bike. I was still crew chiefing it myself and doing my own suspension, my own electronics, all that sort of stuff. But I had enough going on around me that I went in thinking, actually do something here. And yeah, like we went to round 1, quickest in practice, finished second in the race, and it just kind of went. So 2022 was an awesome year, my first ever race win, handful of podiums. Yeah, and it was cool, to be honest, because I know what we're up against with some of the teams in Stock 1000. They're proper teams, and you're rocking up in a van with some volunteer mates and all the rest of it, a bike that I'm building myself, and winning a race and podiums. It was like, this is pretty cool. So yeah, basically,
that's awesome, man. Like building your own I mean, how difficult was it doing that, crew chiefing, and because Kyle Wyman did that out here? Have you heard of Kyle Wyman? He had he raced a Ducati out here. He did the same thing. Well, he wasn't his own crew chief, but he still was the driver, and you know, he wasn't solely just the rider, right? So, how difficult was it? Obviously, it seemed pretty easy, 2022 for you, right? But how much fun was it doing that? Like doing your own data, setting your own suspension up, because it adds a different level to the game, because it takes your mind away from your racecraft too, right? Thinking about this and that, because you got to dedicate your time elsewhere, right?
Definitely. And to be honest, like even though 2022 was as good as it was results wise, I was pretty much in the mindset at the end of that year that I couldn't do it again. Like physically, mentally, everything of that situation, I was destroyed, and I didn't feel I could actually repeat that again, because it was just, I was burnt out, like from every aspect of it, to be honest, because it was like, or everything possible to run a team, finding the budget, securing the sponsors, working out what I needed to build the bike, building the bike, like everything. And even down to like, I got, say, the HRC ECU, and a bike mechanic by trade. That doesn't mean I know how to program an ECU and all the rest of it. So we went back to Oz for Christmas, and I remember sitting there for much the whole like 24 hours in the plane and just reading manuals from front to back on how to do this and how to do that, and trying to teach myself what to actually do to run this bike. And then me and my mate drove out to Spain, and I spent like 4 days on track, trial and error. I try something, did it work? Did it make it better? Did I like it? And it was just purely me, bike, computer, and just seeing, did I like it or not? But it was hard. Like we'd go from having such a high on a Sunday and finish on the podium, whatever. And then I was like, all right, trying to pack down, trying to load everything in. We had way too much stuff to try and fit it in a van. So you'd get like halfway through it and it was like, it's going to fit. Let's unload it, try it again. And it was a bit of a nightmare. It's like, obviously, all the stuff that people don't see, I guess, like you get back home early hours of the morning, go to the workshop, unload, come home, unload, a few hours sleep. And then I still am now, but I was crazy scheduled because it was the only way that I could fit it in. So, yeah, it was like Monday morning, certain amount of hours, data from the weekend, work out what I need to order, what I need to do, how's this going to happen. A few hours to train, get into the workshop, and workshop from whenever it needed to be, whatever time at night. Basically repeat that every day, load up again, go to the next meeting. And sometimes, like I say, it was massively enjoyable to get the reward of being on the podium, and probably more so because I knew what was involved in getting there. But after kind of minutes of feeling the high of that, you're kind of back to reality going, how are we going to turn this around and get back on track the following weekend? Or especially if there was a crash. Not that I had many, but if there was crashes involved, it really stressed me out to think, how am I going to fix this, or what am I going to do? A few of the boys helping me, to be honest, really stepped it up that year to do more than what I ever asked them to do when I had them kind of situations to really help me out. So, it was rewarding, but it was incredibly hard.
I guarantee it, in the whole ECU electronic going down this rabbit hole alone is way over my pay grade. That's what I always call it, man. That's way over my pay grade, right? It's there's a lot going on there, man. So 2022 Honda CBR 1000 RR, right? And then so did you approach DAO or did they approach you, or how did that work?
So basically, I guess I made it fairly open at the time that I was definitely looking for a potential change or a different direction in my career, to go from being this team owner to actually just being a rider. And thankfully, I knew my results at the time were kind of putting me in a window of maybe interest. I'd heard that DAO Racing were maybe thinking about running a stock bike and expanding their team. A conversation got started. And to be honest, from the first conversation, it was kind of like, right, I'm like, when you know, and I kind of felt like, yeah, I feel pretty at home here. Met the owners actually at a party, which was fun. And then, yeah, like it was just, the whole vibe was cool. And I definitely feel like I work best in a family kind of environment. Like that's what I had in Australia. That's what I had success doing in my own team, when it was just the people around me wanted to be there for the right reasons, not for any other thing. They weren't getting anything from me. So when I was like talking about moving into that team, it was like the owners are doing it because they love it, not because they have to or anything else. All the team there loves it. And I just felt like actually I'm moving into a family here, not just a rider where you're expected to do something and then we'll the next one. And yeah, just all the things for me there in that regard were definitely, yeah, really, really good and fitted what I wanted. And then, yeah, it's basically taken off from that point.
That's awesome. So, and you started out with them in the super stock class, and didn't you transition like mid-year to the super bike, if I'm correct?
Yeah. So the plan was to do the stock 1,000 for the whole of 2023 season. And I guess there was an aspect of that, I think, to try and help the roads campaign a little bit. Obviously, they were really focusing on the TD, West and all that sort of stuff at the time, as well as BSB. So they had a lot going on. And yeah, I think hopefully what I was doing in stock 1,000 at the time was maybe helping their stock campaign at the roads. I definitely like to think it did, because I think we've come a long way with that bike. So yeah, it'd be nice if sort of what we've done then BSB rounds transition into helping Dean the results that he did at the roads, and yeah, hopefully played a part in that. But that was kind of what was going on at the start of the year, and the plan was to finish the year on the stock bike. And then I think as the season went on, the roads campaign finished, plans were kind of changing for the future. Yeah, I basically got the call up to say, if you want to, you can jump on the super bike for the last 3 rounds of the season. Yeah, see how you get on. No,
he was like, wait a minute, let me think about this. Okay.
Yeah. But like, no crazy pressure, just the bike's there. Everything about it is right. So yeah, go and enjoy it. We'll see where you're at. Obviously, that has now led to securing the ride for the season.
Bro, so Brayden, you are just simply amazing, bro. Like everything, dude. Yes, you're. I don't even know what to say right now. I mean, what? So let me ask you this: riding the super stock versus the super bike, the transition, was there a long transition period between the two? Like, was there a lot more horsepower? I know there's. Is there less electronics on the super bike?
Yeah, there is, but the one thing that I was kind of lucky with, so in stock 1,000, without trying to make it too complicated, you can run a kit ECU. Obviously, like if you're on the Honda, you can run HRC ECU with all the traction, and like it's an unbelievable system. Or you can also choose to run Motec. If you run Motec, you basically have the same as what the Superbike has, with no traction, no wheelie, no rider aids. You might have some more adjustability with things like engine brake and other bits and pieces. DAO Racing were running that for the road campaign, the Motec on the stock 1,000. It obviously made sense for me to use the BSB to help develop that, understand everything. And then, yeah, when Dean was at the roads, he could jump from the Superbike to the stock bike and have similar electronics. So for the start of 2023 on the stock bike, I'd already been racing all year with, say, Superbike ECU to a certain extent. So I hadn't had any rider aids as it was on the stock bike. Yeah. So it wasn't as big as a jump as, say, what it would have been if I jumped on the Superbike early that year, because I was already kind of used to it. It was just adding in a lot more kind of power, I suppose, into that whole scenario.
That's proper. That's what I love about BSB right there, right? Because this is everything. This is your traction control. You know, yeah, you got engine braking and all that, but man, that's proper, man. What a story, Brayden, man. Look, I'm excited about your 2024 adventure, and I tell everybody, I get asked the question, how do I watch BSB? I say it's free. Bennett'sBritishSuperbike.com. Look up all the dates that give you the calendar. When the race comes up, it'll say live. You click on it, boom, the greatest show on earth, right? Prepare yourself because it's magical. Yeah, it really. It's just like my favorite race of the year this year, obviously Cadwell Park, right? Like, come on, man. But my favorite last race of the year out of all categories, of course, was, dude, how good was it with Tommy and Glenn, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then everything that happened, up to that point, Godspeed Birdie, of course, right? And the whole team, and then Jordan taking over and her brother. And obviously there's a lot of tension with Glenn and Tommy. It's obvious. Everybody watching TV, unless you're blind, you can clearly see. But man, that last race, half a point coming down to the wire. I mean, who's going to win? Who's going to crash? What's going to happen? Yeah, that was my favorite out of all the series. World Superbike, MotoGP, AMA. It's Moto America. Excuse me. I'm still used to AMA back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Man, proper, right? That's So it's 2024. Yeah, it is. It is. So, what was your favorite last race of the year for any series, excluding BSB because you're part of BSB?
I really got into the Top Rack and Bautista at Jerez, the last race there, where Top Rack held him off, and then obviously they ditched it because of the whole green paint thing. But yeah, you tell he was just riding the wheels off that R1, and he was just doing anything to win that race. I thought that was probably the most impressive ride I've seen in a long time, I think.
Yeah, I mean, let's just be honest. Top Rack's one of those. He's very special and a unique rider in the way that he approaches the corners, and how magical he is on the brakes. I mean, it's amazing just seeing how deep he can brake and all that. But yeah, you're right. That was probably my second favorite race of the year, because you could tell Top Rack really wanted that last win for Yamaha.
Yeah, it's a shame he didn't get it, to be honest, because he deserved it.
Yeah, but you go over the green. That's the rules, right? You go over the green. Yeah. But yeah, I like World Superbike. It's next year's going to be proper. I mean, you got obviously Top Rack on the BM, Ray on the Yamaha. Axel on the Kawasaki taking race spot. It's going to be proper. And then we got movement also in BSB, right? We got Tommy with Honda. Glenn's going to be with still Paul Bird Motorsport, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I'm not too sure what's going on there and everything. But I think everyone's waiting for the announcement on what he's going to be up to.
And so I think, Vickers and Ray are still going to be with OMG. It's going to be a proper year. I can't wait, man. And I'm going to be over here across the pond, hooting and hollering, cheering for you every race weekend you guys go, and texting you, right? I'll be like, mate, bro, blah, 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 yeah. It's man, it's going to be awesome, man. I hope you step on that top step and get a bunch of W's, man. I really do.
Yeah. No, it's definitely the dream, mate. I think, like, going into obviously my first proper superbike season, like I've had 3 rounds on it, but it'll be, I think at the moment I'm learning so much every time I ride it. I was a bit frustrated with the 3 rounds that I did because I really didn't feel comfortable. I kind of lost a bit of confidence as well stepping into the class, and it was just all like a lot going on. I had some small crashes on it, and we just had that test at St. Jerez a few weeks ago, and it put me in a lot better headspace to walk away from there going, actually, it's starting to feel like my bike. I'm starting to understand a little bit more. But I think it'll definitely take time, but I really look forward to kind of the challenge. Just, getting the most out of myself, learning and just adapting every time I ride it.
So how does Brayden mentally prepare himself before a race? Like, do you listen to a certain type of music, or do you have like special underwear, lucky socks, or anything like that?
I'm pretty superstitious. So like on that, like we're that or something we do. So blue for first place. It just is what it is. I never wear green. Obviously, there's green with Kawasaki and the DAO Racing. So I don't personally wear green on anything with my socks or anything. that's another story. But I don't. So yeah, they're the two weird things I do. And otherwise, yeah, I generally quite like kind of just chilling out on my own. Like Eliza will be there when she can, but it'll just be headphones on. I have a routine of like stretching, warming up, having sort of the same kind of food, or whatever. But yeah, I will generally have people to stick to myself. And yeah, headphones off like a few minutes before the helmet goes on. But I'm not typically one to be kind of just casually walking around and mucking about and everything. It's not really in my nature too much. So yeah, I'm a bit more kind of, I don't know, got the blinkers on. I'm thinking about what I'm going to do, and just keep myself really.
So what's in the headphones you're listening to as you're preparing and warming up?
Oh, I've just lost you from my screen. Oh, you're back again. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
Sorry, I could hear you. No, it depends what I'm listening, like what I'm vibing at the time. So honestly, anything. Like a lot of people always ask me, but my playlist can go from anything from like, I don't know, heavy rock to country to dance music to anything. Like it just depends what I'm feeling on the day, what kind of vibe I'm trying to get into. But it always changes. So I'll flick through depending on how I'm feeling.
Yeah. So what's your favorite music?
Again, I don't really have one. Like sometimes I train to, like I'll literally train to country sometimes, just feel kind of way. I'll train to new music. I'll listen to like dance music sometimes. Like, yeah, I don't really have anything. If I'm going to go and watch like a concert or something, it's like predominantly a rock. Like I know people, it divides people. Like I've seen Nickelback and the Killers and all that sort of stuff since I've been here. I like that kind of music. But yeah, just whatever really. I don't mind like any rap ever.
Yeah, I listen to all kinds of genre of music myself. I'm like you. It depends on really what mood I'm in and what I'm feeling, from country to rap to you name it. Right. I even listen to like I was listening to La Bamba. Man, I forget who sings it. You know, La 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 Bamba, the Mexican music. La 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 Bamba. And my son looks at me. He says, "Why are you listening to this?" I was like, "Dude, this shit jams, bro. What are you talking about?" He says, "But you're Mexican, Dad." I was like, "What does that got to do with what I'm listening to?" He's like, "Well, how do you know what they're saying?" I'm like, "Dude, you just feel the vibe, bro. Just feel the vibe. Go with it, man." Yeah. So I get you on that. I get my little weird moods. I play stuff like that, and around me, people are like, "What?
Yeah.
What's this guy listening to over here?" Like, yeah, it's
that's funny.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. But hey, so man, what a magical way to get into racing, and where you at today, Brayden. Bravo, man. What a story. So I want to talk a little bit about what Brayden does away from, motorcycle racing. So do you have a favorite Netflix series?
Oh, nothing at the moment. I've been really, it's not very exciting, but obviously being from Australia, we have a bunch of visa stuff. So I've had to fill up my British history exams and all that sort of stuff, me and Eliza. So for the past probably month or two, there hasn't been much Netflix because we've just been studying British history every night. This exam we've had to do. But no, I don't mind watching, like, sometimes it's late and I'm not really focused on the telly. It's just on and it's just kind of there. I like watching Australian stuff because it makes me feel like I like hearing the accents. It makes me feel a bit at home. Right. Eliza hates it, but I'll put on like Snake Hunter, Gold Hunter, or whatever. There's some ridiculous show like that I wouldn't watch if I was back home. But over here, I'm like, yeah, I'll put that on. So yeah, Opal Hunters, anything ridiculous.
That's awesome, man. I've been watching Ted Lasso.
All right, okay.
Yeah, Ted Lasso. I've been all involved in Ted. Well, that's Apple TV. Netflix. Me and Rossi, my son, we started watching the new Squid Games.
Oh yeah, okay, right.
Yeah, because we watched the first one. Yeah, me too. And he was like, "Daddy, the new one's out. Let's watch it." I was like, "All right, let's go on and check it out." So, I have another question. So, if you was stranded on an island and you could only have one type of music, right? What one certain singer, one video game, and what movie? So you get one movie, one video game, and one CD. What are they going to be?
movie is Step Brothers because I never get bored of it. It cracks me up.
Brothers, bro. He says, "You better not wipe your balls in my drums." He's all there like, I love that, dude. You're right. Good movie, man.
Yeah, always funny. Music, as a go-to, I never ever get sick of AC/DC. It's I can listen to it in any mood, in any setting, anywhere. So I never get bored of that. And what was the first one?
Video. You can only have one video game.
To be honest, I've never got into playing them. The only one that I don't mind having to play on. We have people over. Sometimes we get the Nintendo out and play like Mario Karts. I quite like that when you have like a few mates around. But that's kind of it. I've never really got hooked on them. Yeah, it's probably Mario Karts.
Well, I can't say the same. I've been a game nerd since man, I'm getting ready to give my age away here, but man, I got the first Nintendo when it first come out, right? With Top Gun video game. Yeah, dude, that was a lot of fun. But my dad, I grew up in the Navy. My dad was a fighter pilot, so of course he got me Top Gun, right? And that's one of my favorite movies of all time. Is Top Gun. The second movie was pretty good too. But let me ask you this, Brayden, celebrity crush.
To be honest, I don't really have one because we were with friends a while ago and this came up and everyone was talking about it, and I can't honestly not really got one. We used to watch The Big Bang Theory. A lot of us will laugh at this, and one of the birds on there, I said that I liked her or something, and then that's been like a running joke for ages that blonde girl on The Big Bang Theory. But apart from that, I don't really have one, to be honest.
That's all right. Hey, accepted, right? Yeah, because Kelly, you're talking about Kelly, right, from The Big Bang. And wasn't that her name in there?
Yeah, Kelly? Yeah. Penny, I think. Penny.
Okay, Penny. Yeah. I'm with you on that, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's good stuff, man. Right. So favorite racetrack?
Anywhere or just in England?
Anywhere. Your all-time favorite. Who?
Laguna. Yeah, I raced in Laguna once. In 2016, I did the Moto America Superbike Championship there alongside World Superbikes.
Yeah.
And that was cool. Like, obviously, it's such an iconic place, but yeah, again, I guess it's a bit like Cadwell. It just has stuff that nowhere else in the world has it. And I think if I could go back anywhere and do it again, it'd probably be Laguna. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, so I've been to Laguna Seca one time. I went in 2005 when MotoGP first came back, and Yamaha put up all that money to move the walls out or whatever it is they did to fix the track up for them to come. I forgot what it was. Again, it's just like any track you see on TV when you get there and you're actually looking up at the corkscrew in the hill. You're like, holy shit! Like it's TV does it. Even that back section climbing up to the corkscrew, it's a pretty good steep going up.
Yeah. And when I went there as well, something that spun me out was like everyone always talks about the corkscrew and you have all this like build up for
it's turn one.
Like turn one is just mental.
Yeah.
So crazy. And I feel like everyone just gets so focused on the corkscrew that you have to appreciate how fast and how crazy that turn actually is.
Yeah, because I play it on video games, and I've only seen it. Well, I've seen it in real life standing there, but being on a motorcycle, I couldn't imagine what your fifth gear, right, flat out, and it goes to the left, and it has a little rise to it, and it's just completely blind. I mean, you can't see the other side of it. It's crazy. It's
no,
right. I'm with you on that. Turn.
Yeah.
So, would that be your favorite turn out of all racetracks? Do you have a favorite corner?
I don't particularly have one. I do like probably turn 3 at Phillip Island, like Stoner Corner is pretty cool. Yeah, it's just fun. It's just a cool bit of racetrack. Yeah,
dude, Phillip Island's one of in my top 3 favorite racetracks in the world. Phillips, it's what a magical place that place is, right? And how fast it is. It's it's crazy. So, favorite MotoGP rider?
Current or just ever?
Ever.
Probably Lorenzo, which I know divides people, but yeah, no, I've always been a Lorenzo fan.
Nice. Okay, the podcast ended now. But no, I'm just playing. I like nah, man, listen, I was a big Rossi fan, of course, the clash with Lorenzo, but it was good for the sport. It was because it drove people, people gravitated towards that, right? It was, man, Lorenzo, smooth like butter, man, hammer. It was, and then I'm big into Spartans, right? So I love the Greek mythology and the Egyptians and all that, right? So when Lorenzo come out with that Spartan on his helmet, I liked him a little bit after that, right? I was like, dude, that's so badass. Like, you can, and then he come out and said one time that he listens to a certain part of the movie of Spartan sometimes to get him hyped up before he goes out there. The movie 300, and I was like, dude, he's such a badass. I mean, right? That mentality, like, yeah, it's it's good stuff. So, favorite out of your current riders right now, who would that be?
Current riders, geez. I'll go for Miller because he's Aussie, because I don't particularly have one that really stands out for me. Miller.
Proper, right? Yes, I'm a huge Miller and Bender fan.
Yeah.
I like Bezzecchi. I like Bezzecchi because he reminds me a lot of my man Marco Simicelli. I know you see my Simicelli tattoo. Yeah, I got a big old Marco Simicelli tattoo that so I met Marco in 08 at Indy, the first year at Indy, and at a restaurant, and we ended up hanging out. What I mean by hanging out is I asked for his autograph and got a picture, and then he asked me what I was doing, and I was like, I just got done eating. Like I don't even know what to say. Like I'm standing here talking to Marco, right? Because I'm walking to my hotel. Why don't you just walk with us or whatever? And I was like, okay. So we just, man, it was such a surreal conversation because we didn't talk nothing about motorcycles, Indiana and basketball and all this other stuff. Playing cards because he likes to play cards a lot. And then every time I seen him at the track, it was always, I was like, Marco, and he'd always come up to me. It was, a surreal. But Bezzecchi reminds me of Marco in a sense, right? And I'll never forget when Marco Simicelli and Jorge Lorenzo had that beef. Man, what race was that? I think it was 2010 or 2011 during the press conference, and Lorenzo was like, if you do that again on track, I'm gonna get you. And Marco was like, I will be arrested, right? I was like, that's proper, man. We don't have that no more in MotoGP, right? Everybody's huggy, kissy, yada yada, right? I mean, I get it, but I want to see that raw energy, right? That that same thing they used to do. Like, okay, I will be arrested, right? That's dude, that's a classic, man. It really is. All right, so World Superbike, favorite rider in World Superbike.
Close between probably, I'd say Top Rack, but I've always previously been a Johnny Ray guy. So yeah, either one of the two.
Yeah, I'm a Ray fan too, man. I do like Top Rack, but man, I got a poster on my wall. You guys can't see it, but it's of, I guess, Cadwell Park, Johnny Ray on the Red Bull coming over the mountain jump, right? Yeah, I got that right here on my wall, man. Yeah, so I've been a huge Johnny Ray fan, man. I'm glad to see him jump ship. I think he's going to do well on the Yamaha, but dude, yeah, we're approaching this hour mark. I know you're busy. I know it's probably dinner time there, or you probably already ate dinner, right?
No, I've got after. I've actually and team coming around for dinner tonight, a little Christmas dinner before I head away. So yeah, he's going to come around for a feed later.
Proper, man, proper. So listen, before we get off here, tell everybody listening, this will be out tomorrow on iHeartRadio, Spotify, everywhere but Apple. I mean, it'll be on Sanyo's, Samsung, Google. It's everywhere but Apple.
Okay, cool.
But why don't you tell everybody, Brayden, how they can follow? And do you have any merch? Like, do you sell any merch, or do you have like a Club Brayden? People can join.
No, at the moment, I'm trying to launch it. When I do, it'll definitely be on my website, which is just braydenelliott.com.au. If people are keen on like DAO Racing merchandise, if you jump on their website, it's DAO Racing. Yeah, you can get all that sort of stuff, and they've got literally everything, I'm pretty sure. which is pretty cool and it's good stuff. But no, for all my personal stuff, like if anyone wants to keep updated and keep an eye on what I'm up to, definitely Facebook, Instagram, just Brayden Elliott 51 or Brayden Elliott Racing. And yeah, we'd really appreciate a follow and try and keep everyone posted. And yeah, and appreciate all the followers for sure.
Man, you guys heard it, man. Get on there. I don't know what you're doing right now, but get on all the social media and follow my man Brayden, man. Show him nothing but all the love and support. It's man, what an honor, Brayden. I can't believe I'm still sitting here talking to Brayden Elliott. Yes, dude. My day is proper. It is. And listen, we'll end this here in a minute, Brayden. Just stay on with me for like a second, okay? Well, after I end it. But listen, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody out there that always watches and likes and subscribes to Pin to Gas. It means a lot. It really does. Big shout out to my man Jake Marsh. Do you know Jake Marsh, Brayden?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Well, he races in the GP2 class. He actually, this is his T-shirt right here behind me.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Look, and he runs Pin to Gas on it, man. I'm on his bike and everything. So yeah. This is big shout out to Jake and his dad Peter and their whole race team. And then you heard of the Clothing Kings, haven't you?
I think I have. Yeah. I think.
Well, he also makes merchandise, right? So if you, Brayden, personally need any merchandise made, dude, he has a partnership program. I'm telling you, dude, you need to check it out, dude. If that's something you're interested in. But we could talk about that here in a minute. But anyway, listen, again, thank you everybody that watches, likes, and subscribes. This episode will be out tomorrow morning on all your major listening platforms, but Apple right now, which will be on soon. And we did finally go live on LinkedIn too, Brayden, by the way, as the podcast is going, it popped up. So yeah, so you guys can watch this live now on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, which is pretty cool, right? But anyway, thank you guys so much. What an honor it is to be here today to sit down with the legend himself, Brayden Elliott, DAO Kawasaki, British Superbike Racing 2024. Let's go. Until next time, I'm your host, Chris the Show Simcoe, my man Brayden Elliott. We will see you guys soon.
Yes. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, bro. I really